Okay, today's daf is daf lamed hey. We're starting at the beginning of the sixth parak. Keitzam mevarchim. So now we're segueing into the halachas of brachos themselves. We have primarily spent our time in the first five parakim discussing Kriya Shema, its obligations, how to do it, who doesn't have to do it, when to do it, where to do it, and tefillah. Okay, and now we're going to move on to different brachos, brachos hanenin, okay, which are the brachos that apply to one who is enjoying parts of this world, as we'll see. So the Mishnah starts. Keitzam mevarchin ala perus. How does one make a blessing on perus? Okay, on fruits. So the verse says al perus, you learn fruits of the tree. U'emer bayru priya eitz. Okay, that's mevarchin to Hashem. Bayru priya eitz, for the fruits of the tree. Chutz b'nei yayin, except for the wine. Okay, shal hayayin, when it comes to wine. U'emer bayru priya gefen. He says for a special blessing, referring to the gefen, to the vine. Val perus aretz, some fruits of the ground. U'emer bayru priya adama, fruits that come from vegetables. Okay, we'll see things that come from the ground. Chutz b'napas, except for bread. Shalapas, so Emer ha'moitzi lechem b'aretz, its own unique bracha. Val yirakos, and vegetables, specifically vegetables, we'll see. U'emer bayru priya adama, and we would Emer bayru nidishayim yirakos from the lashon of yerek, from greens, from specifically green things, or with stalks, or leafy stalks, or different kinds of green. So they make a bayru priya adama ground, and Yehuda says no, it's its own bari meaning the shamim. There's different forms of greenery. Okay, so the Gemara says we know how to immediately. How do we know this concept that one has to make a bracha on food? Okay, on then and before and after. So the Gemara says the Tanur Rabbanan of Brisa, Kodesh Hilulim Lashem. Now this pasuk is talking about when it comes to the concept of Neter Avai, the fourth year. So we know that the halacha is that the first 3 years a tree has a din of arla. Okay, arla means it's forbidden to eat. It's the first beginning of 3 years. The fourth year has a din of it's called Ravai, the fourth year, and either Neta Ravai, Karen Ravai. We'll get into the discussion in a minute. But the fourth year, the deal with the fourth year is that it has to be. It depends when, but certain out of the 7 years, the 7 years of the 7 years of that are broken down into the fourth year. Sorry, the fruits are called neter ravai. Okay, and they're holy, and they can only be eaten b'tara, one who's pure in Yerushalayim, Jerusalem. Okay, or they could be redeemed, and after they're redeemed, the money is brought to Jerusalem, where it's then bought, fruit is bought and eaten with this din of neter ravai. Okay, so the pasuk over there says Kodesh La'alul Hashem, it becomes holy. Hilulim Lashem is praises of Shem. The language Hilulim doesn't say Halel, it says plural of Hilulim. Melamid, we learn Shetuvin Bracha Lefneim Lachreim. They need a blessing before. We need a blessing before and after. Okay, we kind of from here. We said Asalad Shetuvin Kodesh Yivarach. It's forbidden for anyone to eat before he makes a blessing. Says the Gemara. Wait a minute. That makes sense if the lashon of Hilulim was empty, just to tell us that din. But behind Kodesh Hilulim Lahachu, is it coming for that? Haimi Baile, we need it for something else. What is the word that we need it for? We need the two Hilulims, the two Halals of giving praise for two different things. That we know the concept that if you can't eat it, if you can't bring the fruit to Yerushalayim for whatever reason, it gets spoiled, you don't want to now, that you could make the fruits chal, take away the holiness by transferring it to money, then buying with the money fruits or vegetables, food in Yerushalayim. Okay, that's what we need the first Hillel for. The Idach, and the second Hillel of Hallel, the Hilulim, is to tell us that Davar HaTayin Shira Tayin Chilul, V'Shein Tayin Shira Ein Tayin Chilul. That specifically the things that need to be that the din of Neter Ravai applies to is only things that need Shira. And what does that mean? They get Shira, right? Hilulim. Could Rav Shmuel Bar Nachmani Rav Yonasan, Rav Shmuel Bar Nachmani Rav Yonasan, Minayin Shein Rav Shira El Yayin. How do we know that the only thing in the Beis Hamikdash, we know that when they said Shira, the Levim said Shira, different kabbalas that were brought. How do we know the only thing that they said the Shira on is the wine, the libation part of the carbon? Shneimar pasuk says, "I turn my gefen." The vine said, "Dalti tirosh, I hold back my tirosh for my vine." Hamisameach lekim anoshim, that makes God and men happy. So the Gemara asks him, "Anoshim misameach." If it makes man happy, because wine is sort of a social lubricant, and it makes people joyous. How does God happy from wine? That the only thing that the shira is being said on in the Beis Hamikdash is on the wine. So therefore, the special pasuk of Kiddush Elulim is to tell us that the only thing that the netter Ravai applies to is actually the kerem, which is a machlokes, as we'll see in a minute. Okay, so that only applies to the vine, but the other fruits and vegetables, the fourth year, you don't have this din of the fruit being holy and having to be eaten in Yerushalayim. So the Gemara says, so lamad the tani netter Ravai, hanich lamad the tani netter Ravai. Now we have we'll get to the machlokas in a minute about whether the Ravai, the fourth year, applies to all plantings, okay, or just applies to the vine. So therefore the extra halal could be to tell us they don't darshan this, and therefore the halal could be to tell us you need a bracha after. And kerem Ravai, according to what it says kerem Ravai, therefore you need the extra halal. How are we going to know the bracha? One said that the din of Ravai applies to the kerem. He learned net Ravai any planting. Okay? The Gemara says, wait a second. Well, the turning kerem Ravai, Hanicha makes sense. Kerem Ravai yelf Gezer Shaveh. He can learn from Gezer Shaveh this din that only a davar atayin hillel, only a davar atayin hillel tzarch shira, right? I'm sorry, only a thing that has shira has a din of net Ravai. Okay? Why? Because you can learn from Gezer Shaveh. The Tanya, a separate rice that says, Rabbi Yomer, Rabbi said, Nemar kan lahisif lachem tvuasai. The pasuk is here to add it to your tvua, but never the pasuk says tvuas hakerem. Mahala halon kerem has to be kerem afkan kerem also over here. When it says lahasim lachem tvuasai, in regards to the din of netravai, only applies to kerem. So therefore, Aisr lechad hilul bracha, we have one hillel left for bracha. V'ilo yalav gezer shaveh bracha minale. If we don't learn gezer shaveh, where are you going to know the bracha from? The Gemara says, wait a minute. If you learn this Gezer Shaveh and you have the extra Hillel, Ashkechan la'acharav, that's only la'acharav, the bracha after, l'fanav. We still don't have a source for the concept of saying a bracha before. So the Gemara says, no, that's not a problem. Holei kasha. Why is that not a problem? Why is it not a question? So the Gemara says, Holei kasha, because the Isma we can learn a kal v'chomer. We have a weak thing and a strong thing. Whatever applies to the weak thing will definitely apply to the strong thing. What is that? After you ate, you're full, you're going to bless Hashem. Because when you're hungry and you're about to eat, of course you're going to thank Hashem for the food. Okay? So the Gemara says, Ashkechan kerem, that makes sense according to kerem. Shar mina minayin, how are we going to know other kinds of fruits and vegetables? The Gemara says, Dialaf min kerem, because we can learn from kerem. Okay? We have a concept of mamatzinu, which means that we find it from here, we can find it from here, we can find things that they have common denominators, we can learn one halacha from the other. This is a klal that's given in the Torah, and the source of this klal is the fact that the Torah is a tapestry, and it's one major weaving, and it all comes together, and therefore an halacha that applies here could necessarily apply here if it makes sense. And the way we figure out if it makes sense, we have no idea if there's things in common. So the Gemara goes through all sides. What does that mean? We can learn it from kerem. Why? Because if we didn't have the pasuk by netter or by other the other, even if we didn't have the pasuk by other fruits and vegetables, okay, we'd still know from kerem that you'd have to make a bracha. Why? Because ma kerem davar shenehana b'tayim bracha. The kerem, the vine, is something that you enjoy and it needs a blessing, as we're saying from here. So I've called davar shenehana b'tayim bracha. Anything that you enjoy should need a blessing. So the Gemara says, wait a minute. There's something specific about kerem. One could refute that and say that it wouldn't apply because malak kerem shekin chayav oilis. Now kerem has a din specifically of oilis. Oilis are clusters of grapes that were not fully formed clusters, meaning so there's a branch, and instead of having a full cluster of grapes as we know it, it actually grew a grape here and it grew a grape there. And the din is called oilis, the special din. You have to leave it for poor people. Okay, so therefore it has something unique, especially unique halacha, and you would say only there. That's why it needs a bracha because it has a din of oilis. So the Gemara says no, because kama techiach, I can prove from kama, from the regular stalks of wheat or barley or whatever, whatnot. Because malak kama shekechayev is b'chala. Kama has something unique, which is chala. If it's in chala, you have to take off chala and give it to the kohen. So the Gemara says kerichich, there's no din chala by a vine. So therefore, the chazar had din like Rizek, we could say this one's not like that one. The like Rizek is Rizek, this one's not like that one. But at Tzad and Shavishman, what they have both in common is davar shenana. They're both something that you enjoy. Okay, that is stalks of wheat or barley or whatever, and the vine. Okay, v'toy bracha, and they both need a blessing. So I've called davar, and therefore davar shenana v'toy bracha. The kerem, the vine, is something that you enjoy, needs a bracha. So therefore I've called davar shenana v'toy bracha. So the Gemara says, wait a minute. I can find something unique that these two have that wouldn't be shared by other things. What's that? The common denominator, shekain yesh boitzad mizbeach. Because we know on the mizbeach we have wine in the form of libations, and we have also flour that's the form of the minchas. And therefore the vasi nami zayis. Therefore I would include a zayis, which is the olive, this beitzad mizbeach. Okay, because the tzad mizbeach of a zayis, right, also goes onto the altar in the form of olive oil. Okay, the zayis, the Gemara says vasi nami zayis is beitzad mizbeach. Okay, the zayis mitzad mizbeach asi. Okay, but the Gemara asks, do zayis, do we know from the tzad because it has a tzad mizbeach? It's referred to as kerem in a pasuk. Okay, the pasuk says, "Vayivarmi gadish v'ad kama." They burn from gadish until kama. V'ad kerem zayis, from the gadish, from the stacks until the stalks, until the kerem zayis. And the zayis, the olive trees, are referred to as kerem. Okay, so therefore that's why I know that it's like that. You don't have to bring it in as a tzad shava. But I pop it up because kerem zayis, it's called kerem zayis. That's not a real kerem. That's kerem zayis. Kerem stumble you would never refer to an olive root or olive tree as kerem itself. You would call it a kerem zayis. So the Gemara says become welcome kasha. First, the wide lines. Still, we have a question. They both have something unique. Sheken yishmem tzad mizbeach. They both got mizbeach. Other things that don't go on the mizbeach, be able to say that they would need a brachas. The Gemara says, we learn from Shivas Haminin, which are the 7 special fruits that are in that Eretz Yisrael is praised for. So the Gemara says, wait a minute, no, you can't learn from there either, because Ma'ala Shivas Haminin, the 7 species, Davar Shenana. So I'm sorry. So you say with Shivas Haminim, Ma'ala Shivas Haminin, Davar Shenana between bracha. The 7 species are things that are enjoyed and they need blessings. Of kol davar shenana turn bracha. Anything that's enjoyed should need a bracha. So the Gemara says, wait a minute. Again, something unique. So something unique in other places. Why? Because malashim sabinin shekin chayavim bikurim. They did a bikurim, which is the first fruits that have to that go to Yerushalayim. Those first fruits only apply to the Shem Samin, the 7 species. Therefore, only they we would say need a regular bracha, but not other things. So the Gemara says, even if you do find this as a good source, it's not going to help because we said we only have 1 hillel free. Right? We said that you have to make the netter ravai, the kerem ravai. You're able to redeem it and then eat it in your shalayim, right? On other money, on other food. That ate up already one of the halals. So that only makes sense for the bracha afterwards. The fundamentally, we're still stuck. We were missing a halal. The Gemara says halal kasha. That's not a question. Why? Does it become kal v'chomer? Because we can learn it from kal v'chomer completely. What does that mean? Like we said before, if one blesses Hashem and thanks Him once he's full, when he's hungry, he's thanking Hashem for the food that's in front of him. Certainly he would have to. The Gemara says, netter ravai. And going back to what we said before, the one who said netter ravai, that the din ravai, the 4th year, applied, the holiness of the 4th year falls on all things, not only the vine. Hatinach, we could say called davar jinatiyah. Okay? Even according to that, that's only planted things that we'd have to make a bracha on. What about dalav bar natiyah, things that aren't planted, or plants? Going basar, baits, and medagim, meat, eggs, fish, those aren't coming from the ground as plants. So minale, how you really have to make a bracha from there? So the Gemara says a whole new reason. Ella svarahu. It's logic. Why? Because forbidden to take part in this world without thanking Hashem for whatever it is that you're enjoying. Okay? So that's where the Gemara comes out. 2 dots. Okay? It's forbidden for one to have enjoyment in this world without a blessing. Whoever does enjoy this world without a blessing, Baal. It's as if he was Baal. And the concept of Me'ilah is one who profanely treats a Kachim. Right? We know that in the Kachim it has to have a certain holiness to it. And one who treats it in a profane manner is Baal Behektish. Okay? He uses it, Hektish, stuff that's set aside for the Beis HaMikdash. It's like stealing from God. And therefore, one who eats without giving a blessing is like he went and transgressed this concept of Me'ilah, Ma. So the Gemara says, how should you make it up? So the Gemara says, you should go to a wise man. Says the Gemara, we should go to a wise man. What's he going to do for him? He already transgressed the fact that he ate from God's world and enjoys God's food without thanking Him. So the Gemara says, you should make sure to go to wise people before. You should learn the concept of brachas and the halachas of brachas. So you shouldn't come to Me'ilah. Okay? 2 lines from the bottom. Shmuel, whoever enjoys this world with that blessing, it's as if he is enjoyed Kachi Shemayim, Kachin, Mamish Kachin. This world is God's. Okay? Rav Levi Rabbi said there's a contradiction in verses. Ksiv, one verse says Lashem Aretz Malaya, that's God's world and all that fills it. The Ksiv, another pasuk says Shemayim Shemayim Lashem. That God has the heavens and He's gave the ground, He's gave earth to man. So is the ground Lashem Aretz Malaya, is Aretz God's or is it man's? So the verse is like Kasha, Kan Kaidim Bracha. One is before the bracha, and kan la'achar bracha. What that means is that when one before the bracha, whatever it is, the apple in his hand is God's, and once he makes a blessing on it, and they bless the food, he's not in fact blessing the food, but he's actually partaking in the miracle of creation and recognizing that the Creator created it all. He is allowed now partake in it completely permissibly and to enjoy it. He's one supposed to enjoy this world. And therefore, la'achar bracha, it becomes ha'aretz nasan levnei adam. Okay, some of the great Hasidic masters actually said the opposite. That kaidem the bracha, before the blessing, it's man's, and after the blessing, it becomes God's. We actually sanctify it becomes godly. Okay, and the concept of lifting up the sparks and creating holiness in everything that we do. Top line on Lamed Hey Amud Beis. Whoever enjoys this world without a blessing, it's as if he's stolen from the Jewish people, from HaKadosh Baruch, from God and the Jewish people. Now this is a pasuk. The pasuk says he's a thief from his father and his mother. He says he hasn't done anything wrong. He's a friend or an acquaintance of the one who destroys. Okay? So the Gemara says, his father is only a reference to God. He's your father and he's your creator. And mother in the pasuk is stealing from his father, and his mother is a reference to the Jewish people. Here now that my son, the musar, the musar that his father is giving him, do not abandon the Torah of your mother, of the Jewish people. So the pasuk says, "My chaver hu leish mashchas." He's a friend, he's an acquaintance of a chaver hu leish mashchas to the one who destroyed. Chanina bar Papa chaver hu Yeravim ben Nevat. He becomes a chaver of the Yeravim ben Nevat, and the Yeravim ben Nevat was a great Rasha who not only sinned but he caused the other people to sin. Okay, so he's a friend of his. Hishchus Yisrael Avim Shemaim. He set up Avodah and the Jewish people should have Avodah. So here too, when the Farshim explained, when one doesn't do a bracha, he in fact holds back God's blessing. So God's not bringing more shefa, or better rains, or whatever it is in the form of God's blessing to this world. Therefore, he's stealing from the Jewish people as well. Okay, so he's sinning and causing blessing. So the Gemara says, Rabbi Chanina bar Papa Ramiksiv. Chanina bar Papa said that there's a stira, Ramiksiv. Now, what does that mean? A stira, a contradiction. One pasuk says, "L'kachti dag nebi'ito," okay, that you will take the dagan in the proper time. And another pasuk says, "V'asata daganecha," and you'll have to put together your dagan. Okay, so which one is it? Is it "V'lakachti dag nebi'ito"? I'll take it in my time, or "V'asata daganecha" will be done basically against your will, that you'll have to gather together. So the Gemara says, like Kasha, when the Jewish people are doing God's will, then things will be good. And when they're not doing God's will, okay? When they're doing God's will, the grain will be for them, and when they're not doing it, it'll be taken from them, and it'll be shown that this, you thought this was your grain, but it's really not for you. Okay. And the Gemara continues. 1 second. Yeah. Okay. So the Gemara continues. Tan Rabban, v'yasat deganecha. What does the pasuk say? That you have to gather your grain. Like what's the chiddush? What's it telling you new? The the verse says like Yomosh Sefer Torah as Amipicha. One pasuk says that the words of this Torah should never leave from your mouth. You might think that things are exactly literally that way, and you're not allowed to do anything with learn Torah. The first white line, that no, you have to go gather your grain. That what? Hitting Bam Derech Eretz. You have to do Derech Eretz with them. You have to have a job. Jibber Shmuel is words of Shmuel that obviously one has to learn at every given moment he has and make the most of all his time and not waste his time. But he has to go for work for a living as well. Rabbi Shmuel, and that's the Rabbi Shmuel. Shimon Yochai argues and says, "Efsha Adam Chayrish B'Sas Charisa." Guy's going to end up plowing during plowing season. Zarei B'Shas Zariya, planting during planting season. V'Kaitz B'Shas Katsira, and harvesting during harvesting season. V'Dash B'Shas Disha, and doing the winnowing. And Zaira B'Shas Ruach. Sorry, the dash is the splitting of it, and the winnowing. He's basically be taking care of all the different facets of creating his bread. And Torah Matiyalel has never been able to have any time to learn. So Ella says, when the Jewish people are doing God's will, their work will be done by others. The pasuk says, and strangers will get up and they will shepherd your sheep. Okay? The Jewish people aren't doing God's will, they'll have to do it themselves. And you'll be forced to gather your own grain. Not only that, now they have to do their own work, but if they're real troublemakers, God's going to make them do other people's work. They work for your enemy. Many have done like Rabbi Shmuel, and like Rabbi Shmuel, and also Yada, and that was the right way to go. And it didn't work out so well. Okay, not having a job. I'm going to Rav the Rabbanan. Rav told the Rabbanan, I beg you, in the days of Nisan, the days of Tishrei, respectively the days of harvest, the days of planting, the days of harvesting. Those whole months, I don't want to see you in front of me. I want you to be able to go make a parnasa, be able to support yourselves, residual income, and be able to have enough income for the rest of the year. And therefore you won't be busy with making a living the rest of the year. You'll be able to learn. But he clearly was saying that one should probably get a job. Okay, Amar Rabbi Bar Chana, Amar Rav Yochanan, B'Shur Rav Yehuda Bar Eloi. Rabbi Bar Chana said that Rav Yochanan and Rav Yehuda Bar Eloi, Ba'ivra, come and see. Shaloi Kederis Rishonim Daras Achron. The earlier generations are not like the later generations. Why? Daras HaRishonim, the earlier generations. So Tarasim Keva Ulach Tanarai. They made their Torah keva. They made their Torah their main thing. They made their work sort of a secondary thing that they had to do. And Zubazun can be Yadan. They had tzlacha, they had success both in the work and both in the and also in the learning. Okay? And Durzach, right, in the later generations, also Malach and Keva. We take work way too seriously. And with Torah and Arai, they just and they do Torah sort of when they have a chance. Okay? Zubazul and Iskambiyad, neither have been working out so well. Okay? Rabbi Chana said, "Boy, very come and see Shalai Kedmidas Kedosh Rishonis Deris HaAchronim. Rishonim Deris HaAchronim. The first generations are not like the last generations, because Deris Rishonim, the earlier ones, Machnis and Perisein Derech Tarkisimon, they would bring it in through the front the front porch. They would bring their stuff in through the front door." Yeah, they would bring it in through the front door, so they should be chayv and meiser, because we know that the concept of meiser that one must to give. We know the first that when one harvests their own and he sees the owner's house or the yard, he has to separate truma gedola, he gives the kohen. Okay, truma gedola is at least 1/50th. Truma gedola, he takes off meiser rishon. Okay, and that meiser goes to the Levi, and after meiser, the Levi has to take then from them trumas meiser. Okay, which is 1/10 of what he receives as Meiser Rishon. And these Meisers are the different tithes. Okay, so he said that but we know that the responsibility of giving the tithes only applies to grain that's already seen my front of my house or been in my courtyard. Okay, so the earlier generations they would bring it right in so that they would be chayav and Meiser. But the later generations, our generations, But Derech Achronim Machnisim Bereshim Derech Gagas, Derech Hatzeres, Derech Karpios, Lepatrim and Baiser. They do everything they can. They try to bring it through the roof, through the underground tunnels. They do it in a way that doesn't see the front of the house, and therefore they're not responsible in Meisers. Okay, and then the Gemara says, "Amar B'yana in a tevel b'schayv b'meiser tevel, which is untithed, unmeiser. Things are not chayv b'meiser. Shira pnei habayis until it sees the front of the house. Remember, ba'arti hakodesh min habayis, taking the kodesh from the house. Rabbi Yochanan Amar filu chatzar kavatz, even a chatzar, a courtyard that's able to guard it, is also makes it responsible now. Have a chiyuv that it's usher to eat it. Okay, one eats it. B'shogeg it depends if it's chayv mitzvah shemayim or different makas, depends on if you did it on purpose or a mistake. But the pasuk says, "Never va'achlu b'sharechem v'sabal." You eat it in your shar, in your gates, even though you're not in your house. It's still a chiyuv. Okay, so the Gemara continues. We said in the Mishnah chutz min hayayin, except for wine. Okay, the wine you make part of priyagafis. The Gemara wants to know, why is wine unique? Ma'ishna yayin ilay b'shem nishtani le'luya, because it had a change for the betterment, and therefore it has a special bracha. Nishtani le'bracha has its own bracha. V'arei shemen. What about oil? Nishtani le'luya. Olive oil is obviously a better, a more precious commodity than olives. Okay, v'lo nishtani le'bracha. You don't make a different bracha. Damar Yehuda Amar Shmuel, Yehuda's name is Shmuel, B'chin Rav Yitzchak, Rav Yochanan, Shemes Zayis, olive oil, Avarchina La Bar Priyaitz. One makes a Bar Priyaitz on it. Okay? So the Gemara says Amri. They said, Hasam Mishum Delay Efsher. When it comes to olives, they have no choice. Because he can nivrak. What should he bless? Nivrak Bar Priyazayis. Bless is the Hashem who created the pre of the Zayis. Peri Gufa Zayis, the fruit itself is called a Zayis. So it wouldn't be a reference to the upgrade. Itself is called an olive. So the Gemara says, "V'nivrach ala bar pri eitz zayis." So why don't you say bar pri eitz zayis? Okay, that can't be the reason. Another reason, because chamer wine is sustains, gives one sustenance, and olive oil does not. So the Gemara, wait a minute, mishchol zayin, olive oil can't sustain a person. But now we learn in the Mishnah, a person made a shvuah, a swear, an oath that they will not partake and have enjoyment from mazon, from being sustained. So the Gemara says, "Mutter b'mayim melach." You're still allowed to have water and salt. And the Gemara asks, but we asked, and we made an inference. Mayim melach u'delay ikri mazon. Only salt and water are not considered sustaining things. Hakol mili ikri mazon. Everything else would be called mazon. So olive oil should be called something that sustains. The Gemara says, "Name it Rav Shmuel." The Gemara says, the side thing. So let this be act as a refutation of Rav and Shmuel. Why? Because Rav and Shmuel said that Ein Mevarchem Bar B'nei Mizonos. One is only says Mizonos. Elamhei Min Levada. Only the 5 meaning than all. There's only things that are zon. From Rav Huna, Ba'omer Kol Hazan Alai. Rav answered over there. No. When is that Hanodim Ben Hamazon he's still usher and everything else including olive oil? That's Ba'omer Kol Hazan Alai. Anything that sustains is on me. Is usher. So therefore, what do we see? And therefore, that's why that's not a tiyuf to Rav and Shmuel, because the only reason why you make a bar mitzvah is Rav and Shmuel, the haymin and the 5 species of grains, the 5 species of grains, is because those are kol hazan alai, anything that's zan on me. Hold on 1 second. Okay. So the Gemara says, but we can still infer from here that olive oil that does sustain. So that's not an answer. The Gemara gives another answer, because wine actually fills one up. And olive oil doesn't fill one up. Says the Gemara, does wine fill one up? Rava says, Rava used to drink wine all of Erev Pesach, that his heart would sort of be pulled after and want to eat matzah to whet his appetite. So you see that it doesn't fill one up. So the more answers, Tvei Tuva, Gerir Pur Tasai. Okay, but so a lot actually doesn't fill one up as much as appetite, but a little could fill one up. The Gemara says, "Or Misad Klal doesn't fill one up at all." The pasuk says, "V'yayin yisamach lavav enosh." The lechem levav enosh. You saw it. The pasuk says that wine will make happy the hearts of man, and bread will fill up the heart of man. So the inference is Nama who decided. Bread fills one up. Chamer lo yisayid, wine does not. So the Gemara says Ela Chamer is Beitarti. Wine has two. Sayid is Beitarti. Sayid u'mesamech. Okay, it actually makes one fill, and it also makes one happy. And the Hama bread, Messiah Sayid, it makes one full, but Smuch la mesamech doesn't make one happy. The Gemara says, if it's such a great thing, wine, why don't we just say the full blessing of the Shalosh Brachos of benching after? So the Gemara says, because like Kvi Inish even though one can fill himself up on it, most people will not drink wine as a set meal. So Rav Nachman Yitzchak the Rava. So Rav Nachman asked Rav Yitzchak, what about so Ikaba Elois the Sudan say, if I decide I want to drink a wine meal, should I bench after? Malay told him, when Eliyahu comes. Vayomer, and he'll say, Yehava, Kviusa, Hashtamiya, but Ladai Yitzchak Adam. He said, when Eliyahu comes, but you should just know that this concept of Yitzchak Adam states that the concept is that even though you could do something, that the Torah was created for the Jewish people to be normal, and normal Jewish people, normal people in general. So therefore, the fact that you could drink a meal of wine and be filled from it is not going to make a responsibility, an obligation to do the full benching as you would have to bread, because you're just a freak. Most people would not do such a thing. Okay? So that's what the Gemara says. So we'll take it from here tomorrow.